Hello there, Comic Clan, and welcome to Comics in the Cross, the greatest streamers you have never heard of. Of course, I'm one of your hosts for today, Cross, along with... Thank you, ads, for that host right over the top of me. Thank you so much for that. I, of course, am one of your hosts for today, Cross, alongside my co-host, as always, Nitro.
What's up, everybody? How's it going?
How are you all doing? Woo, I don't know if that's loud for you, but Nitro is loud in my ears.
Sorry about that.
No, you're not. Never sorry about it. But thank you so much for everyone stopping by to hang out with us. Welcome along to our podcast for today, where we are going back into doing our indie comic book club.
A little bit of Invincible.
We have not done this for a little while, actually. It's been a good few months since we've done an indie comic book club, where he said we were going to be talking about Invincible Volume 1. I'm going to be looking at this. We, of course, in the show a while ago talked about the show Invincible. It's on Amazon Prime, the massive hit show that all of you have heard of at this point.
Yep.
Most of you have probably seen it, so we're going to be looking at the comic that inspired it, the comic that it was based upon, and what our thoughts are on it.
Update.
Yeah, man.
There is a new...
Hey, Danger is Fear. Thank you so much for that follow. Welcome to the Comic Clan.
Welcome.
We appreciate you coming on, and thank you so much. It's good to see you. Oh, let me move that because the alerts are not popping up above the border, so half of it just disappeared.
What's up, Caffeine Rush? What's up, homie?
Sorry, I'm just moving a few things.
No excuses.
No excuses, no excuses. I just want that when our people do something on here, it'll do it properly. It'll do its job. It'll be nice. Alright, but thank you so much for everyone that's popping in to hang out with us today to talk about that. We, of course, have a couple of talking points beforehand, just a few things to talk about from the world of comics, movies, TV shows, and everything in between. First of all, I feel like my camera is aimed really high with this border. I'm trying to get it. I'm trying to show off my comics and get me at like the right angle, but I feel like now that...
Good. I honestly think it looks good, dude.
Does it look okay? Yeah.
Yeah, it looks fine.
I need to sit up straight because I feel like I slouch a lot, and if I slouch, I'll come down here at my nameplate, and
I sit on my leg a lot when I do these things. Like I'll sit on my leg. And
oh yeah, I do that. I do that all the time. But yeah, so a couple of things. First of all, just to throw it into chat for everyone that's there. First of all, for anyone who is interested in catching up on our indie comic book club that we've been doing since October of last year, this is actually, I believe, the 5th book we've covered.
Yeah.
But if you put !indie into the chat, I will actually pull up an Amazon wish list where you can find all the books that we have covered here on the Indie Comic Book Club available for purchase, so you can actually go there, check them out for yourself, pick them up. And included on there is the upcoming books that we are going to be doing up to the end of the year.
Yeah, because it was Klaus, Chew, Spencer and Locke, Lock and Key, and then Invincible.
Yeah, so this is our 5th one. And then also on there you'll find Something is Killing the Children, which is going to be our October book for Indie Comic Book Club for Halloween and horrors books for this year. And then, of course, our book that's going to be for our December story is actually going to be Usagi Yojimbo, an amazing 30-year-old story from Stan Sakai of an anthropomorphic rabbit samurai. If you grew up in the 80s, you may possibly have even had an action figure of him because there was a lot of crossover for him in the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
I totally did.
Even though in saying that, all those action figures came out of the TV show, and I'm pretty sure he never actually appears in the TV show.
There was a lot of figures. There was a lot of figures that came out like in the early '90s with Ninja Turtles.
I'm pretty sure he just got roped in there somehow. I don't know how they got him roped in there, but
there was tons of characters. I'm like, dude, I don't remember this dude at all, but he looks sweet. I'm gonna get him.
So basing off
Mom's gonna get him. My mom's gonna get him. That's what I meant.
Just like I'm gonna get him. Nitro last week. But yeah, as we've been apparently had a massive success last week with Nitro and Locke docking anime to the audience, and a lot of anime fans in here who like the Japanese culture, the old school Japanese movies and samurai Ronin stories. This is very much in that sort of vein, so if you're a fan of that sort of stuff, Usagi Yojimbo will be up your alley. It's a little bit different than the usual ones we do on the show, but it's well worth checking out. Also as well, you can see our other link if you do !KOFI for coffee. And you can see it right below us here as well. We are now actually over on coffee.com at /comics in the cross, where you can go over there and you can support us via donations. And we are of course taking donations over there as well. We did originally have a Patreon that is now being shut down. We are going to be exclusively off of Coffee. It's opening up to do a lot of stuff on that page, and we are encouraging people, if you want to financially support us. I know a lot of people like subbing here on the channel, and a lot of people use their Amazon Prime to do that. If you're still wanting to do that and support us financially in that way, then we still greatly appreciate it, and we're not going to say no. If you want to give us money for the show, I don't understand why you're doing it, but we'll take it, you know.
Absolutely, no questions asked.
But it's actually more financially beneficial to do it via Coffee, because it's actually cheaper. I've set the lowest donation on it as $4, so it's actually about 99 cents cheaper than getting a sub on here, which is $4.99.
Yep.
And then also it's more financially beneficial for us because we will actually get all $4 of those dollars rather than $2. So it's actually financially beneficial for us. And for those that are looking to get something out of donating and subbing over there on Coffee, I'm going to be doing exclusive content over there, reactions to TV shows, trailers, movies, different things like that. I'll be doing on the show. You'll get some behind the scenes content for here at Comics in the Cross. And the next thing I'm lining up to do is I'm finishing up Titans season.
Sweet spot update.
Titans.
A member of the Comic Clan has
Infinity
been
Bros
promoted
coming
to the star.
in.
What?
With a sub 6 months in a row. Thank you, Infinity Bros, for continuing your sub with the Stan Clan. But supporting us over at Coffee, you'll actually get some exclusive content there. The next one I'm going to be doing is when I get to the start of Titans Season 3, I'm going to be recording my reactions and uploading them there. If any other suggestions of what you would like to see there, by all means let us know.
Yep.
Also as well, there is a commissions page over there that we are actually going to be opening up, hopefully within the next week.
Yeah, so I'll be working on that. I'll be working on that this week, getting the commissions part set up. So the way it's going to work is basically any commissions that are done, a portion of that will obviously go to Comics in the Cross, and the rest will go to obviously me. But also, I think for the people who do like a monthly coffee sub, I might do a specific commission for them as like a thank you. So we'll see. Well, I got to figure that out this week, but yeah, that should be done hopefully by this weekend.
But absolutely, we'll work out what's available off of there, but you will be able to purchase commissions from Nitro off of there. If you want to have a look at what Nitro's done, pop in on Tuesday nights. He's been doing some amazing pieces for some of our friends. Right now he's working on a piece for Nick from the Co-op Trio podcast, but he's done amazing pieces for Chunk the Hunt, for Rated RKO, for Watson of the Co-op Trio podcast, from Caleb from Mountain Nerds Pod. He has been doing awesome commissions for them that have been shown on there on stream, and they've turned out amazing. So if you want to get a commission piece like that, they were all lucky enough to win those commissions during our 12-hour stream, but that doesn't mean you can't get a commission piece like that. But Nitro's a phenomenal artist that deserves to get paid for his work, so if you want to buy that, or if you've got special requests, like he done logos, like he's done the logo for us at Comics in the Cross here that you can see above us. He also did the logo for our good friend Locksteady, for his channel launching. And any of the emotes that you see here, he helped put them together for our channel. So if you have any requests like that, then by all means you can put them in as commission requests to Nitro. There will be a charge for them, obviously, for his working time on that, but at the same time, it's an opportunity to get some of that awesome artwork hanging up. I've got a piece hanging up behind me here, very timely for going to be doing Titan Season 3 of Red Hood, hanging up behind me. And that, by the way, was just like a quick sketch thing he pretty much did on stream along with some others one Sunday. That's not even like a intense piece that he's been doing as of late for his commissions. But yeah, if you want to go over there, you can go over there and hit follow on our coffee page as well, just to drop a follow to keep up to date with the things that are going on there. But if you drop that donation as well, it'll greatly benefit the channel. Anything that's made through the coffee page will 100% go to the channel and supporting us, to allow us to buy stuff to be able to do on stream, to allow us to upgrade our equipment and all that sort of good stuff. Anything we get that way, it'll go straight towards us here.
Yep.
Alright, wanted to get those plugged in at the start. So we've got a couple of interesting things to talk about. Let's talk about the Aquaman stuff first. Let's get it out the road.
Do it. Let's get that out of the way.
Because there's nothing much to talk about here. But Jason Momoa released just today in fact, like literally just before we came online, pretty much.
Yeah.
New looks at some of the Aquaman costumes that are going to be appearing in Aquaman 2. The first one being a slightly altered version of his final costume from Aquaman, and his apparently emo Aquaman look of doing the black, which just looks like they looked at Black Spider-Man and went, hey, we just want a black outfit.
Black Superman, Black Spider-Man. We need a black outfit too, so let's just do it.
Which I'm like, doesn't make any sense. Didn't we just get rid of the black outfit in the first Aquaman movie when he changed over to his?
I mean, I'm sure there's a specific need for it in the movie. I'm giving them the benefit of the doubt with that, but I thought the outfit at the end of the first movie, even though I wasn't a huge fan of the movie, was perfect. I thought it was a perfect live action Aquaman costume. I don't know why I gotta change it.
Yeah, it looks like a good thing. I can understand adding a couple of bells and whistles to it if you want to alter the costume slightly. I just don't get why we're going the route of the black costume. I'm sure it'll be explained in the storyline, but I'm looking at it like I don't get it.
No, I don't get it
personally, but like I guess it's one of those we'll need to wait and see.
I'm really not that pumped about the movie either, but
I wasn't a big fan of the first one, to be honest. Everyone else seemed to love it, and I wasn't massive on it, so like I'm not exactly blown away for the sequel.
No, I mean I own it, but I mean I own most comic book movies, even if I'm not a huge fan of them, just because I want to support the medium.
Yeah, I want to make sure they keep making comic book movies.
Yeah,
but, like,
exactly.
But yeah, so it's like, but let us know in the chat what you guys think as well. If you're a fan of the new Aquaman looks or the alterations to the costume from the end of Aquaman 1, and the new black Aquaman costume, what do you guys think of them? Do you want to take us on to the next topic we were going to mention, because you brought this up to me? There's some Daredevil rumors flying around.
Yeah, so everybody, all right, so there's a handful of Daredevil rumors regarding MCU that have been talked about this week. So for one, the arm, the hairy arm that everybody thought was Charlie Cox in the trailer is confirmed to be not Charlie Cox. So, as I stated, I knew that wasn't Charlie Cox because he just had a different build than Charlie Cox Daredevil. But there's another trailer out there, like an IMAX cut of the trailer that actually shows the guy's face, and it's not him. All right, so we can just put that to rest. All right, it's not Charlie Cox. Not saying he's not in the movie. I actually think he is, according to some rumors, obviously over the past couple of weeks. But so the news with Daredevil Charlie Cox is that he will be getting his own Disney Plus spinoff show, Charlie Cox Daredevil, not anyone else. He will be getting his red and yellow suit from the comics, and also he has filmed scenes for She-Hulk. So I'm assuming those will be courtroom scenes because She-Hulk is set like that's a thing.
Yeah, let me put it this way: when it comes to that, like, why are the shadows appearing below that again? Okay, this is doing weird things, but like, but yeah, absolutely. Like, I don't think we're going to see Daredevil appear in the She-Hulk movie, but I fully expect that we're going to see. What's his face? That we're going to see Matt Murdock. I fully expect we're going to see a courtroom scene. I fully expect we're going to see him doing his thing.
Yeah.
What is that alert box underneath our border?
Oh, is it?
There is no reason for it to be under that border. Does the border need to be up higher? Is that what's going on?
The border should be down, right, on the list.
That's what I thought.
What's up, Watson? Why, yes, I am wearing a very sexy C-shirt. C-shirt? Is it a C-shirt or
a C-shirt?
It's a C-shirt. We're gonna call it a C-shirt. What's up, Caleb?
There we go.
So yeah. Regarding Daredevil. So they're thinking about.
Oh,
I think there's.
I'm so sorry. Where are these?
Yeah, it's on top now.
And it's really watery. I gotta check it out.
Okay. Apparently, I'm about to get joined by someone on stream.
Okay. Sweet.
A very special guest.
Uh oh.
Apparently there's been some infighting, so...
Oh no.
The other children are being dealt with by mommy, so...
Nice.
Say
What's
hi.
up, little dude?
Hey. Hey.
That's not fair, man.
Hey,
you can't steal camera time.
Yep, there's Baby Cross. Say hi, say hi to everybody.
Dude, that's hilarious.
Oh, you are such a poser. Look at that face. That's such a pose.
Oh my gosh.
Don't come in here and act
thumb
all
on
cute.
the chin.
I'm gonna say, don't be fooled by him coming in here being all cute. This is the guy who's been keeping me up at night.
The thumb on the chin.
Yeah.
Dude, that's hilarious.
But yeah, please continue.
Yeah. So, So there's rumors that Marvel is gonna be doing a. The rumors have started picking up speed, but they're gonna be doing a rated R banner that they can put those types of movies and shows in. And the talks are Daredevil will be part of that, Ghost Rider will be part of that, obviously Deadpool, and there was one other one.
Yeah, when they started
Punisher probably.
when they started talking about Deadpool coming in and being R-rated, it's like, yeah, they were clearly like, this is going to be something they're going to have to address eventually.
Yeah.
Because there's too many other topics. Like, I mean, did you see that? Like, people are crying out for proper R-rated material now. Like, if you're going to do it, go for it. I mean, did you see that with like and with Venom, Let There Be Carnage? Like, they've announced that it's going to be a PG-13 again.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, no, if you're going to up the ante and go for it, just go for it. Like, you know, and, it's like, and if people don't like the R-rated stuff, then don't watch the R-rated stuff. Like, that's, we've said it all the time. Not every comic book thing is for every, you know, fan of it. So it's like,
yeah. I mean, speaking of like rated R and Carnage, like, so I went to see Shang-Chi last night, and they played a new Let There Be Carnage trailer that had additional footage. And that could 100% easily be a rated R movie. No question about it. Not even trying to be. Because the scenes with Woody Harrelson transforming are properly terrifying.
as
Like,
they
legit.
should be.
It
It's
looks
like,
awesome.
as they should be. Carnage is a symbiote that comes, like, literally out of his bloodstream.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that alone could be a terrifying scene. You know?
It is. It's amazing. But yeah, so they're talking about doing a rated R label at Marvel and putting a lot of properties onto that. In addition, on the same vein of Daredevil, so Vincent D'Onofrio, there's rumors that he is going to be appearing in the Echo series, as well as the Hawkeye series. Yeah, and the rumor is also that Daredevil is 100% in Spider-Man, the new movie coming out in December. So a lot of stuff with Daredevil this week. Because a lot of people want Charlie Cox back, and a lot of people want Vincent D'Onofrio back, and they're being super, super vocal about it. So
They've only wanted that since, you know, Daredevil was cancelled on Netflix. I'm like, just bring them over, bring them in.
you know, it's funny though. Along the same lines of the Netflix Marvel characters. So again, we went and saw Shang-Chi last night, and my wife and I both hated. Well, she liked Iron Fist, but she did not like the martial arts in Iron Fist. And she didn't like the main character, Danny Rand, the dude who
Oh, did you see the report that came out for that, by the way? That's what to mention.
What?
Do you know why the fighting was so bad in that?
No. Oh, yeah, because he didn't want to train.
Because he didn't show up for training. That's why it's shot in the dark. That's why it's shot with him with his face covered. Because half of it's a freaking stunt double and half of it's him not having a clue what he's doing.
So dumb. Like, yeah, you're one of the best martial artists.
It's a
in
martial
Marvel.
arts show!
Dude, it's like you're one of the best martial artists in Marvel, and you don't want to train? Is that what we're doing here? Is that what we're doing? But anyways, I turned to my wife mid-movie and I said, "This is what Iron Fist wished it was." And then
Good.
somebody reported after that. Thankfully, we won't have to see Danny Rand anymore. But I think we will at some point. They're gonna have
It
to
won't be the same person.
dramatically remove it from what the Netflix show was.
Well, let's put it this way. Charlie Cox coming in, 100% viable option. Vincent D'Onofrio, 100% viable option. I don't even remember his name that played Danny Rand, but he's going to get nowhere near the MCU.
No way.
Because that's it. See, before that report, I had chalked up a lot of what happened in Iron Fist to it being like bad writing, bad like storytelling, all this sort of stuff. And the guy who did the first season especially was awful at it, and he proved that because he also did the Inhuman show, which was awful as well.
Yeah.
But then when I heard that, and I'm like, if you are cast to play one of the best martial artists in the Marvel universe, like you're cast to play any sort of martial arts role, and you just refuse to show your ass up to train and actually choreograph stuff and actually learn how to do it correctly, then you don't deserve to be in it. You don't deserve that role. And I'm like, and I hate it because Iron Fist is a really cool character they could have done some great stuff with.
I know, man. I was so disappointed when I saw the
And
show.
it's like,
for one.
and now we've got Shang-Chi, and it's like, he's going to do what they need to do. He's going to take that role. He's going to be their martial artist. He's going to do all their mysticism. I'm like, Iron Fist legitimately gets his power from punching a dragon's heart. And I had to wait until Shang-Chi dropped to get a dragon.
In the trailer, though.
In the trailer. I got that in the trailer. I watched 2 seasons of Iron Fist. Yes, I was one of those people that watched both seasons. Yes,
I did too. I'm a moron.
No dragon. And I'm like, how do you not have even a glimpse of the dragon?
That's the main plot point.
And yet, that's his origin story. Yeah, in the trailer for Shang-Chi, I get a dragon. I don't even need to watch the movie. I got the dragon already. I've not seen the movie yet, and I've already got a dragon.
So, I mean, I know you and I are going to go see Shang-Chi later this week, but it reminded me a lot of the martial arts movies from like the late 90s, early 2000s that were like made such a splash in the States.
Yeah.
You know, like Rumble in the Bronx, Crouching Tiger. I would put The Matrix in there, honestly.
I have not seen Shang-Chi. I've just heard all the reports coming out. I've heard nothing but great stuff from it.
It's so good, man.
I have got to commend Marvel for this because, like, as much as we talk about Marvel can take characters that nobody knows, like, and make something amazing out of them, and like, let me put it this way: they took a guy who, in all honesty, comic book wise in Marvel, was less than Z-lister. Even Guardians of the Galaxy and Ant-Man had their fan bases. Even hardcore fans knew who they were. Shang-Chi was an afterthought by Marvel Comics for the most part. He was barely around for anything. It's like he was not... Anytime they tried to push him, it basically was stopped dead. It wasn't allowed to grow. And they have basically turned Shang-Chi into what a lot of people are calling the best solo Marvel movie that we've had yet. One of the best things. Like, Shang-Chi's not even an Avenger, technically. And everyone's calling for him to be part of the Avengers team now. After this, that he needs to be part of it. And I'm like, you have done bigger than taking like a no-hoper like Iron Man, putting Robert Downey Jr. on it and making him an A-lister. You have taken a character that people, even comic fans that knew about him and did not care about him, and make him probably one of the hottest Marvel properties right now.
Like, I'm continually
That's
editing
impressive.
stuff in my brain that I want to say because I don't want to spoil anything, but it's such a good movie.
Like, it's impressive that they've done this. They got hype built for this character. This character has never had hype. And they got people excited for the movie well before it dropped, and then when it dropped, the hype just exploded. And it's like, oh, you know, good job, Marvel. That's exactly what we were waiting for with stuff like this.
I know we keep I feel like we talk about Iron Fist like every other week, but it had such potential to be so cool. That was such a letdown, man.
But like, he's the other big martial artist, and now with Shang-Chi,
I know he's one of the big ones.
With Shang-Chi dropping, I'm like, there's going to be comparisons drawn because they're opposite ends of the scale.
I mean, who is it?
And absolutely addressing as, yes, I will forever mention Inhumans because I had to suffer through it, and I am not letting anyone else black out on it. If I have to suffer, so do you.
Who are the people who are known for their martial arts abilities, right? You have Daredevil, you have Iron Fist, you have Shang-Chi, and maybe Taskmaster. You'll put him there because you can learn everybody's fighting. I mean, who else are the mainstays? And I feel like 2 of the 4 of those they've just absolutely butchered.
Yeah, this year. Well, one of them this year. Like literally a few months ago, one of them was butchered.
Sheesh.
The other one was butchered twice. He had 2 seasons and they got it wrong.
3 times. He had 2 seasons and he had oh my gosh.
And
dude.
the Defenders. I forgot about Defenders. So yeah, 3 times.
The thing is, they gave us a little bit of hope within those shows because there were glimpses of like, oh, that was really cool, and then it just went back to crap.
The best potential that character had was when he showed up in season 2 of Luke Cage, and we got a back and forth between Luke Cage and Iron Fist.
Oh, when they started fighting,
we got a back and forth with their fighting, and even just like in the season 2 of Luke Cage when we got some dialogue between them, I'm like, okay, there's signs of something that could be here.
Yeah.
And it's like, no, we're just going to turn the lights out on him and we're just going to leave it there. And we're just... And it's like, okay.
So Shang-Chi is a proper martial arts movie, I think, in my opinion. It's really good, and I love the fact that it embraces just the bat crap crazy stuff.
So you've got the chance as well, chat, to go and see Shang-Chi. We will be talking and reviewing that. Nitro's not going to be with us next week. We were going to do it originally next week, but so the following Sunday, so 2 weeks today, we will be talking all spoiler Shang-Chi. So you should have plenty of time to have gone and seen it at that point. So we will be talking all things spoilers by that. So 100% make sure you join us for that one. We will be letting loose on everything.
Yes.
All right, let's call it there before we dive into some more stuff, and we are going to delve into our indie comic book club, looking at Invincible.
Sweet.
So full spoilers for Volume 1 of Invincible. We are of course going to be going full spoilers into the comic itself. Also as well, full spoilers for Season 1 of Invincible. We have talked about it on the show before, but like it highly parallels a lot of the stuff in here, and the fact that the show just dropped this year, there's going to be a lot of conversation about it. There's going to be a lot of comparison to it and what takes place, and as we delve into it. So we'll leave that there. If you guys need to head out, if you aren't at the point where you can take spoilers on either of them, we completely understand. But we're going to go in full spoilers for both of these. So, initial thoughts on Invincible Volume 1.
So it's going to be inevitable that we compare this to the show, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Right.
I think it's going to be hard not to.
So I think where this book excels is that it allows the story room to breathe. So in effect, it's the same story as the show to a certain extent. There's other like minor things that the book has that the show doesn't, but I feel like the book just gives it room to breathe because we're 4 issues in, and the show starts off with, again, spoilers, but the show starts off with the death of their Justice League, their version of the Justice League,
Guardians of the Globe.
Yeah. So it starts off with Omni-Man basically murdering all of them. Well, apparently, like you and I were talking before this, so we just finished Volume 1, which is the first 4 episodes, or for the first 4 issues.
Yeah.
That doesn't happen until the second volume.
Yeah, so I've got Volume 2. I actually own Volume 2. I picked it up not a lot long ago. And like the reveal of him, of like the Guardians of the Globe dying and who does it, doesn't happen until like literally the end of this.
Yeah.
Like literally it's like one of the last pages reveals Omni-Man, or maybe it's like the issue before it. Yeah, like the second to last issue in this is literally like the death of the Guardians of the Globe. So like you then get, so like the chapter 4 in Volume 2 is literally like starting off with their funeral and stuff like that. If you honestly want to pick up the comic like to the point of where they are in the show, you need to pick up like Compendium 1 of the book. You would need to pick up like Volumes 1, 2, and 3, like the first 12 issues, to properly get encompassing the death of the Guardians of the Globe, the turning of Omni-Man, the fight between Omni-Man and Mark, and everything that you do for that. Hey, good morning, Bullet Ryan. Good to see you, sir. Welcome on in.
So I love that there's room to breathe. It's a pretty easy read. I didn't jive with some of the writing because I think this is the first time I ever read a Robert Kirkman book. Some of the stuff was like, I was like, okay, that's a bit cheesy. But for the most part, I really liked the writing. I'll be honest, I wasn't a ginormous fan of the art style. But that being said, the coloring in the book is phenomenal, and I think it matches the art style very, very well.
The use of color is very interesting because there's so many shots where there isn't a background. It's literally just color, and it's like is used to kind of like as part of it to emphasize what's in front of it. Is very interesting.
Yeah, like for instance, like this whole spread, this 2-page spread, it's not a spread, but these whole 2 pages are all blue. But like it suits the atmosphere of that scene, and it's really, really well done. And like it's definitely a minimalist like art style. Like there's not a lot on each panel. There's not a lot on the page. But I think it breathes very well from a visual perspective. I'm just not a huge fan of the way that they styled the characters, and I think that might have something to do with the fact that I saw the show first and I really dug the show's art style.
Yeah. Also as well, just as a FYI on the art style, the art does actually change later on. As you come into Volume 2, the name's already at the top of the page. It's Corey Walker that does Volume 1.
Okay.
And then going into Volume 2, it's still Corey Walker a little bit, but also there's Ryan Otley. And you can actually see it, like even me just flipping through Volume 2 now, the art style it looks different in some places.
Yeah.
It's not a
deal breaker for me.
There's still similarities to it, but Ryan Otley starts to take over, and then I think it's by Volume 3 Ryan Otley is the artist, and he would then be the artist through to like the end of the series.
Yeah, it's definitely not a deal breaker for me. It's not like it takes me out of it, because I think that the coloring I think it makes up for it in my opinion. It's so good. I think the book is really good. I really enjoyed it. I immediately wanted to watch or read the second volume though after I was done.
Yeah, I think that's the thing with this book is like kind of like what you said. I think is the best way to describe it is Invincible is there's room to breathe. It's I was talking to you a little bit before the show. So many shows and so many stories, so many comics are in such a rush to grab you, especially if you're reading like Marvel and DC. Then now, a lot of the time it's about grabbing your attention. The next big thing, we need to get you, we need to draw you in, we need to be big thing to big thing to big thing to big thing, and it's like, whoa, just chill, breathe.
Slow down. Yeah.
Like literally at the end of the first volume, like I feel like nothing has happened. That's like nothing like amazing. Like there's no death of the Guardians of the Globe. There's no like spoilers for the show, but there's no Omni-Man turning evil. There's no big fight with Omni-Man and Mark. There's nothing like that. But at the same time, I feel very invested in Mark Grayson as a character and Invincible as a character. I feel very invested in his world. I've learned who his parents are, what they're like. I've learned his best friends at school. I've learned who was it Teen Team? Am I getting that right? Teen Team, like who's got like Atom Eve and Robot and all that in it, and Explode, like they're all in it. I feel like I'm getting to know them, which I like to point out. It's a lot more of a breathing room because like some of the characters are even a bit different. Like Robot, the way he's written in this is very different from the show.
Yeah, is it? I can't not hear Zachary Quinto when I read.
Oh, 100%. I still hear Zachary Quinto's voice, 100%.
But that's the dude. That's the dude. He's voicing him. In my head, that's who it is.
But like his way of speaking is so different. Like in the show, he is very robotic.
Yeah.
And very single note. In this, he's almost got like a little bit of an attitude, a little cocky at times, a little like sure of what he's doing. He's definitely like the spoiler that comes out in Invincible. Obviously, that Robot isn't a robot; is actually a malformed person who's basically living in a tube. I can buy that a lot more in the comic than I can in the show because I'm like the way he talks and interacts, and I'm like I could buy that as a person.
Yeah. Agreed.
And Mountain Air saying the comics def take it way slower than the show, which is totally fine. Yeah, but that's the thing as well. That's the great thing about Invincible, and this we'll get into the actual volume in itself in a bit. But Invincible in itself, I think it's like 32 volumes collected.
Holy cow!
But like the 32 volumes are literally like the story of Mark Grayson. Like you get the story of him growing up in high school. You get the story of him learning to be a hero. You get the turning of his dad. You get the learning who the Viltrumites really are. You get the War of the Viltrumites, which lasts a good like 3 volumes or something. Like it's huge.
Oh man, I can't wait to read that part.
He ends up getting married. He ends up having kids of his own. He ends up like you literally follow the life of Mark Grayson across these 32 volumes. It's not like picking up Spider-Man and like 32 volumes later he could be anywhere. It's like, in fact, like if you do that at the right point, you'll end up with him being almost like further back than when you started.
Yeah.
Whereas like with Invincible, it's like it's literally the growth of the character across these books. It's the growth of his life, and it's a natural path.
Yeah.
And I feel like it takes its time to get there. And it lets you. It
definitely noticeably different than the show.
It's like it's making you settle in for the long haul. Like this is a story that's worth telling, and I was thinking about it like I was talking to you beforehand. I know some of what's coming up next. I know not just from the show, but I know spoilers of some of the stuff that comes up in the comics because the story's been done for a few years now. So I know some of the spoilers that come up ahead. And knowing where some of the story goes, it's really interesting to think, like, you want your big hit stuff, your big impact stuff, you're going to get it. But we're going to take the time to build towards it. We're going to take the time to make you emotionally invest in Mark Grayson, emotionally invest in his mom, emotionally invest in Atom Eve and Explode and Robot, emotionally invest in Omni-Man, and emotionally invest in these characters and where they're going.
And can I say, like, as regarding Mark's character, it's such a breath of fresh air to just have someone who's just a good person. You know, like I get the gray, like most people are they're a shade of obviously good and you know not so good. I get that, but sometimes there's just good people, and I feel like it was a breath of fresh air when I was reading Mark's characters. I feel like he's just a good dude.
Yeah, he's just a good
You know?
kid. It's like, I mean,
Yeah.
it's like he's a good 17-year-old that just wants to do the right thing.
Yeah, and I
it's
love that, man.
And it's awesome to kind of get that feeling and that development of that. It's really, really cool.
Yeah, I agree.
So like it's a really interesting story. I was gonna say fun, but fun's not the right word because it's like it's just enjoyable.
Yeah, it is definitely enjoyable.
It's
That's a really
more
good
like
word
just
for it.
enjoyable to sit there. It's not like it's fun, like, hey, we're going on this crazy adventure and it's going to be wacky and fun, or oh, there's going to be great action scenes, and I'm like, well, there's some good action in it, but not drastically over the top.
Yeah.
It's just an enjoyable read. Like, I feel like I'm starting this journey with Mark. I feel like this is the start of his superhero journey, and I feel like I'm starting that journey with him. And it didn't rush. You know how, like, if you watch just like a Spider-Man movie, for example, I'm thinking like, especially back like the Tobey Maguire ones. It was like he's in high school and he's became Spider-Man. Oh, and now he's at college and has a job and all this stuff. And it's like the movie's not even halfway through,
Yeah.
and he just jumped like 10 years of his life away.
I know.
And it's like, in this, it's like, no, he's in high school, and I think by the end of the book, it's like what, a few months? It's like 5 months later, 6 months later.
Something like that.
Something like that.
Four months.
It's not
4
even
months.
been like a year. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? It's like it's literally taking its time of like that. Well, what would this kid do? How would he learn? What would he go through in this?
Yeah, and I love like one of my favorite things about this book is how just matter of fact being a superhero was.
Yeah,
Like, because especially when his mom is talking about it, like, their dad, Omni-Man, gets sucked into a different dimension. And Mark's like, yeah, Dad got sucked into another dimension. I don't know if he's going to be home for dinner. And she's like, oh, that's okay. What do you want for dinner?
Yeah.
It's just like, it's just a matter of fact that people have superpowers. And it is what it is. I love that.
it's just the fact of like, yeah, this has happened before. Don't worry about it. He'll be back.
Yeah.
You
yeah.
know, and
And one thing that I caught in the comic that I didn't catch this in the show, or I might have just missed it. Like, people don't know that dude is Omni-Man, right? They think he's like an author.
oh yeah, like he's a writer and an author and stuff like
Yeah.
that. It's like you don't get to see much of his home life, of Omni-Man's home life and what he does and stuff, because it very much focuses on his superheroics more.
Yeah.
And his connection with like Cecil and the organization and stuff, who we don't even get in this. I don't even think we get it in volume 2. I don't think they show up until volume 3. But like it's very, you know, he has a secret identity. He has this life, and it's like which makes sense because because you kind of watch the show and you wonder that, like, they've got a house and stuff, and Debbie seems to be, you know, she sells homes and stuff, and you're like, is that how they make money? Or like, does the government pay Omni-Man? Is he a professional superhero?
Yeah.
Or like, how does it work? Because he never seems to not be Omni-Man.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really interesting because you get like okay, Billet Ryan, I'm going to say this, Nitro's already said it to you, I am going to time you out if you put any spoilers in chat. I'm just saying, you seem to be really pushing the Shang-Chi talk, and like, we're not talking Shang-Chi today because most of us have not seen it yet. It literally just came out. I'm glad you enjoyed it, but if you really push that conversation, I'm going to get one of the mods to time you out, brother. I don't want to do that, but I'm going to let you know that, because I see you just keep posting about it. But yeah, it's like it's interesting because I love the fact that then it clips of like him being an author and stuff like that with Omni-Man. It's like, it also makes sense because he's like, oh yeah, I'll knock a book out and get them.
Yeah. He's like, I need to get some extra keyboards.
Yeah, and it's like, just letting you know, I'm going to rattle through this. I'm going to tear through these keyboards. I'm going to completely, like, you know, power through these. It's absolutely awesome just to think of that. Like, so he does something, and he does something to earn money, so there is something else he does. But he does it in such a way of, like, of course being an author makes sense, because he can type out super fast something. He's super intelligent, so he can put his mind to work. He can blow out keyboards, type in this book, send it away, and then it's like the book goes out there and it starts to sell, and it's a while before he has to do another one.
Yeah.
And yet he's going to keep getting the royalties from the book and the book selling, so it's like, actually, it kind of makes perfect sense being a superhero and being an author. It actually makes perfect sense, because it means like the rest...
Especially if you have super speed.
Yeah, it means just like the rest of the year he just has to do his thing and go and be a superhero, and I'm like, okay, that makes perfect sense. But yeah, so let's jump into it. And like, I've kind of just been wanting to talk around it a little bit before we fully delve into it, just because there's not a lot of stuff to discuss in as of itself.
Yeah.
like we said, it's very slow, and it's kind of
Yeah,
build up and stuff. But like,
and I was doing like I was trying to take notes per issue, and like other than just the high level points of like what happened in the issue, again, it's just character development. There's not a whole lot of like specifics that we can cover, but yeah.
yeah, but like, and that's the cool thing is if you like character driven stories, this is definitely the one.
Absolutely.
Like, there's events in this, and there's events that are building up, but Invincible is 100% a character-driven superhero story, which in all honesty, is kind of the same as the show in that way. I think that's why so many people invested in the show, and connected with the show, is because people connected with the characters. It's like people fell in love with the characters and thought these are really, like, you really invest in Mark's story. You really invest in it. But I understand for a TV show, you have to grip people differently. Like, what better way to get people coming back for episode 2 than, oh, by the way, Omni-Man's the bad guy.
Yeah.
Which never comes across.
No, not at all. Like, he seems like a super caring type person.
In this first volume, you would never guess it, so I can only imagine in volume 2 it's the same until the big reveal. But I'm looking through this and I'm like, there's nothing. Even like some of the stuff in the show where he hints at, like when Mark tells him about he's getting these powers and he looks very kind of concerned, or he starts to like lash out and almost become abusive at points during the show.
Yeah.
None of that in here.
Nope.
The dude is so content about Mark being a superhero. He's so calm about it. The only time that we see it is when they fight the aliens that come through the porthole, which, if you've seen the show, you've seen them. They come through, but it's not like a big, massive thing. It's just like Invincible and Omni-Man fighting them.
Yeah, it's just like a 2-pager.
and they push them back, but like you can see like Omni-Man's face looks really intense during one of the scenes.
Yes.
But at the same time, if I didn't know what Omni-Man did, I don't know if I'd pick up that something's going to happen there.
Yeah, yeah.
I'd be like, okay, that's probably setting up something. But him turning into the villain is not where my mind would have went, in all honesty.
It's funny that you mentioned that because they do a really good job of hiding who he is in the comic. But I do specifically recall that one. This is what you're talking about, right?
Yeah.
So that one panel where he's just about to go berserk, like, and you can see it, like his eyes are crazy. But
because the rest of it feels like, even the conversation, hey, just me D, how is it going? Welcome on in. But yeah, because even the rest of that fight, the dialogue feels almost Superman-esque. It's very like, gung-ho, let's go, chum, we can take care of this. We can fight them back, and it's like, we are not finished yet, keep pushing forward. And it's like, it's very like all American hero sort of, red, white, and blue, Superman-esque thing, until that face.
Yes.
When it's like, it looks like the face when he goes through the porthole in the show and like blows up their world.
Yeah.
It looks like he's about to do that until he gets heard.
Dude, Mountain Nerd said in the chat, we were talking about Zachary Quinto with Robot. He said, I definitely heard J.K. Simmons the entire time I read Omni-Man Lunch.
Oh, 100%. 100%. Omni-Man's voice is J.K. Simmons' voice.
He is J.K. Simmons, let's be honest.
There's no other way. Like, like the voice cast for the show was so good.
Perfect.
That reading through the comic, you will hear their voices. Like, I can't imagine other voices fitting them as well.
Which is one reason that I'm glad that that the book has a lot of the stuff that the show doesn't have, because again, that breathing room, but you're able to kind of associate. It adds another element to your reading experience. Like, you have the voices now in your head that you can read the lines with and stuff like that. It's really cool.
Absolutely, and I mean, like, let's just take it an issue at a time then. Because, like, there's not really, because I'm like, I usually would take it like story beat by story beat and build it up for people, but there's not even really that, to be honest.
It doesn't not for real. Not a lot happens in each issue. So, like, for instance, the first issue was mainly just your introduction to the nucleus family of the book, right? You have Mark, you have his mom. What's her name?
Oh, Debbie,
and then you have Omni-Man. And it's just introduction to them as a family. And then, Mark discovers his powers, that he has powers. And one of the cool lines that I like from it, which goes back to what I was saying earlier, I like how just having superpowers is just matter of fact. Like he's working his job at Burger Mart, and this actual scene is in the show, but he's working his job and he goes out back to throw trash in the trash can, and he throws it like a normal person, and it goes like a mile in the air. And they cut to his face, and he goes, "It's about time,"
Yeah.
because his dad had that talk with him, that superhero puberty talk, where you're gonna start growing hair in strange places, and you're gonna get superpowers. So I thought that was cool. I really
Yeah.
like that.
Well, that's like the whole first issue. Like, I mean, like literally the first couple of pages. The first couple of pages are him like getting rid of a guy who's actually a bomb, which I love. That's a little
Yeah.
thing that comes back around in this because that comes up in issue 4. But basically, it's just him and his mom at home, just chatting. There's not even a hint that it's a superhero family.
Mm-hmm.
Like they talk about, oh, I wonder where your dad is and stuff like that. Oh, I don't know where
Yeah.
he is. He never came home last night. Until they turn on the TV and like Omni-Man's fighting a dragon.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, I guess you know where he is now. Like that's it. Nope. Thank you for that, disabled zombie. Stretch. Oh, pop the shoulders
Ooh.
up.
Back pop.
Oh, I needed that actually. That was good. Hey, Tom
Right.
Levine. How does it build suspense in or keep the story moving? Honestly, it kind of built. I don't know if it builds suspense, if that's the right terminology, Tom, but it's like it definitely builds, which is really interesting because like it definitely lays the foundation for what's going to be a good building of like some really great stuff of character development, who they are, the world that they live in, the relationships between the characters are all like really built well. It's not massively in depth or anything, but it's enjoyable to start reading. You're like, oh, I'm ready to read the next volume because I want to see how they build on top of that.
Yeah.
It's like because it's not even like oh my goodness, I have to read the next issue to see what happens. It's like, oh yeah, I want to read the next issue. Let's do this.
I mean,
it's the best way I can describe it is one of the most laid back comic reading experiences I've ever had in my life.
yeah.
Reading Invincible Volume 1.
I would say that Tom. So to answer Tom's question, there's an underlying arc in the first 4 issues regarding these high school kids are missing, and they're showing up and getting basically blown up with bombs. So there's an underlying who done it in the first 4 issues, but in with that comes a lot of character development with other characters that obviously carry through to the next volume.
Yeah,
Would
absolutely.
you agree with that, Cross?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it definitely builds momentum. Like it continues to like that forward momentum. The story keeps pushing forward, and the first couple of issues, you literally don't even get like stuff on the high school kids disappearing. Really, like it's kind of mentioned and passed on, and then by the time you get into issue 3, it's like it's getting mentioned more and more. I think issue 3 is when they have like the big school assembly regarding it.
Yep.
And it's like, wait a minute, and you kind of realize it, like your head kind of clicks, like, oh wait, I read about that.
Yeah,
You mentioned that, and it's like, and you kind of like it builds obviously into issue 4 when it's like, here's what's happened to the kids.
Yeah, and a lot of the growth in the first 4 issues is just Mark discovering his powers and taking on that mantle and trying to figure out what it means to be an actual superhero. His dad's kind of taking him under his wing, that type stuff. So there's a mentor-mentee type thing going on.
And I
There's
love
a lot
that
of elements.
And I love that as well. That's one thing the show doesn't do because we find out Omni-Man's the bad guy so early.
Yeah.
I love the relationship between Mark and his dad.
Which is going to make what happens at the end of the 3rd volume that much more
I
potent.
love it because like he literally looks like he is so excited for his son to be a hero and take him under his wing and start to teach him and guide him. In the show, it felt like it was almost very trying to get one up on him while he was doing training with him or show him how insignificant he is. And this one, like, he literally feels like he's like, even like when he takes him out in his costume, it's like, it's about time we did a team up. Come on, let's go.
Yeah, exactly.
And the two of them
He takes
fly
them out
off.
to eat hot dogs.
And the two of them fly off to each other, and it's like, okay, come on, I need your help with this one. Like he goes and grabs him and stuff, and it's like it's so well done.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we get the setup of Mark at high school, like you said. We get the scene from the show where he launches the trash into the air, and apparently, according to the show, it lands in London and almost kills people and stuff. But then, like, the next dynamic is like literally them sitting having family dinner. Again, another scene that we kind of see from the show where he tells them about their powers and stuff. But like, Dad comes in late or something. Like, third panel in, he arrives like, I made it. I'm here.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or, like, he's going to be late again. Like, nope, I made it. I'm good.
He's like, there was an enchanted flood in Egypt. I had to deal with it on the way over.
Yeah. And then it's like the wife asks, "Oh, did you take care of that dragon?" It's like, yeah. Once I found out who was controlling it, yeah, I managed to. She's just asking him about his work. It's like it's
Yeah.
so well done, just how nonchalant she's asking about. Like this is just their life.
When it's funny at the end of dinner, she's Mark is like, "Hey, I think I'm finally getting my superpowers," and she goes, "That's nice. Can you pass the potatoes?"
Yeah, I
And
love
it's
it.
just so matter of fact.
I love that. Whereas like his dad has this weird reaction to the show. His dad doesn't even look up
Yeah,
at the table, but it's not in a bad way. It's like oh yeah, that was going to happen eventually.
yeah,
It's like, really? Come on. Then, of course, we get the flying scene. It's not quite as intense at this point because in the show, obviously, he flies and he loses oxygen and crashes.
yeah.
In this, we just see him taking the jump like it was. And he kind of explains a little bit of that it's a reflex flying. So, like, if I step off here, if it's a reflex and I have it, I'll start flying. And if not, then I should have invulnerability. And I love there's that kind of moment of questioning, wait,
Yeah.
but if I don't fly, there's also a chance I don't have invulnerability. And this could really hurt. And I love it, just that little bit of processing, and then of course he can fly.
Yeah.
You know what was really interesting was going back and reading this, because I read this like ages ago, way before the show came out and stuff, and it's really interesting seeing where some of these characters go. Because
Yeah.
next we get the scenes of him in like his costume, these homemade costumes, stopping villains.
Yes.
And it's the Rock dude, who we see in the show becoming like the kingpin sort of
Yeah.
crime lord guy.
Yeah.
He's almost like a throwaway character in this.
He is. Because I remember he was such a big part of the show.
And it's like,
And he
I can only
just gets his
imagine
face beat in.
how many volumes down the line that stuff's going to happen, though.
Well,
I
it
like-
takes literally 5 panels for him to get his face beat in by Mark. That's it.
Yeah, but that's it. Like that. But then he like comes back in the show like a couple of episodes later for this whole thing, and I'm like, but I can only imagine when in the comics he comes back, if at all.
Yeah.
And I'm like, it's so well done, and I love as well that his dad doesn't pull him aside like in the show for this.
Yeah.
You know, it's like he's basically, you know, in his old costume, and his dad's just standing there in his normal clothes, leaning against the wall. Like, what in goodness sake are you wearing?
I know he's watching him beat this dude, and he's just chilling in the alleyway.
And he's like, is it not a bit early for you to be doing this? You've only had your powers for like, what, a week? He's like, 2 actually. And then the conversation literally goes, alright, come on, I can't have you running around looking that ridiculous. And then the sirens go off, and it's like, the police are here for them anyway. And so it's very much just a case of like, well, if you're going to do this, let's go and get you in a proper costume, because
Yeah.
you look ridiculous.
And then the tailor, of course, I hear Mark Hamill.
Cannot not hear Mark Hamill's voice when you're like reading his lines. Like,
Yeah.
maybe it's because Mark Hamill's voice is so distinct, like in geek culture
Yes.
to us now. But
Yes.
I'm like, it's him over anybody. I heard Mark Hamill's voice more than any
Yeah.
other person.
Yeah. Can I
Uh,
say, like, just as a side note? So I know I mentioned this to you earlier. So there are a lot of visual Easter eggs to various other IPs in the book. Like I spotted an Akira reference, which was one of the animes that we talked about last week. Canada from Akira is wearing his biker jacket. There's also a Bill and Ted reference. Somebody's wearing a Wild Stallions baseball hat. There's a Superman Red Sun reference. So there's a guy in the background wearing the Superman logo with the sickle and the hammer on it, and he has the curl. He has a Superman curl. And there's also on one of the buses there's a Star Trek Enterprise ship silhouette with a trail behind it. And then Charlie Brown. Charlie Brown is in this freaking comic. He's at the mall. He's at the mall and one of the kids explodes. So I really like that stuff. It doesn't really add anything to the story, but I just like, for people who are paying attention, I really, really like that stuff.
just like random Easter eggs added to it.
Yeah.
Which makes sense if you read the book, because even like some of the setup and stuff or stuff, like you'll see like different brandings and stuff like are obviously changed and that and this. So like it's clearly a book that's like we're going to throw stuff in there.
Like there's a store, Toys R Us, obviously a real store that used to exist, but in the book there's a Toys Be We.
Yeah, Toys Be Wee. And what is it if you go like right to the start of the first issue as well? Like his friend, what's his name?
What is his name?
I've literally just blanked. I had it in my head. William.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
right.
William
I wanted
is-
to say Mark, but I was like, that's not it.
Yeah, William's wearing like a Gap shirt, like a shirt with like the Gap logo, but it's RAP, RAP instead of GAP.
Yes, I saw that.
And it's like just like, I didn't know about the Charlie Brown thing. That
Yeah,
was
here's
dope
Charlie
from
Brown.
There.
So in this panel, you can see Charlie Brown. I don't know if you can see it.
Yep, the Charlie Brown shirt. You can
But he's
just
right
see it in
there.
the background. You
He's
see it
up
at the
here,
side of the
like,
panel.
He's looking at the camera right up here. So I was like, dude, that's so cool. I love that stuff.
That's awesome. Alright, and then we head back to school with that. And we get a little hint again at the missing kids, which I love in issue 2.
Mm-hmm.
The teacher asking like one of the kids to stay behind, like asks
Yeah.
Derek like to stay behind class, and it's like never met this kid before. He's randomly getting asked to stay behind class with no reference. I wonder if this will be important later.
Well, and that's a cool thing. Like I didn't honestly even pay attention to that when I read it the first time. But
No.
after obviously reading it through the first time, I'm like, oh crap! So
It's
that's
just
when
a
it
ra-
started happening.
It's just a random scene, and like, but then when
Yeah.
you start to realize there's missing kids and they're getting turned into bombs and stuff later, it's like, oh, that's what's happening. Okay. We then get another interesting scene of like a play on the bully scene, which I prefer the way that this one kind of happens.
Yeah.
In the show, it felt like it was really drawn out as a way to try and build up Amber.
I don't remember the bully scene in the show, honestly.
The bully scene is the one like where he goes but at the beginning of the first episode to stop him like trying to like harassing Amber, and then gets the absolute snot kicked out of him. And then Amber like puts him in the balls so hard he lifts off the floor. And then we get the thing of like where he goes at him later, like when he's on his own, but he has his powers now, and Mark just keeps going, hit me again, and like I get the whole punching him out thing, but I kind of preferred this one. It felt a lot more believable to me. Like Mark getting and just hit me again. I that's one of the things in the show. I'm like, I never quite understood that. I'm like, that doesn't make sense. Whereas this one, it's like he's just picking on a kid at the side, another kid who's at the lockers. And he's just like, just leave him alone. And it's like you can see just the frustration in the face of like, I just leave him alone.
Well, and that's the thing. Like he knows he could have like literally killed him, but all he did was just throw him into the locker and just say, "Hey, just chill out."
But I love that it's enough. Like he basically dents him into the locker door.
Yeah.
It almost like jams him in. And then it's like, okay, like he then gets hauled into the principal's office and stuff like that.
The principal was like, "I would have done the same thing, man. You did awesome. Just don't tell anybody." Basically,
it's like I'd have done the same thing. Please just be careful though, because I have to write you up for stuff like this. So please don't.
Any interaction with the bully gave me Flash Thompson, Peter Parker vibes.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's what they're going for, because I've heard it referenced to this book a lot as well. This is like very Spider-Man in that sense, like whereas like there's a lot of focus on, if you read a story of like somebody like Superman or Batman, or you'll get a little bit of origin story, but then it's so much focus on them as a hero. Spider-Man was very much a character who, probably one of the first, where there was as much focus on him as a person in his life as much as there was on him being a hero. I think that's changed in recent years. Because like Peter Parker's almost like interchangeable under the mask now at this point of like no one really cares, they just want Spider-Man, which is like that's kind of the whole opposite of what he was meant to be. Whereas I feel like that's what they were trying to get with Invincible, was like it's Mark Grayson is just as important as Invincible.
Yeah.
You know, just like Peter Parker's just as important as Spider-Man, like Mark Grayson's as important as Invincible. So I very much feel like there's definite Peter Parker like vibes and playing to stuff in here.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
And then the interesting thing is it's actually that talk with the principal that gives him the idea for his name, because obviously he went to see the tailor and he says, I'll make you an iconic suit, just give me a name and we'll work from there. And it's when he's talking to him, you know, the boy was almost twice your size, it's not your responsibility to protect the other kids here. You're not invincible, you know.
And it cuts to him smiling.
And I do have to say, it's like I kind of like this setup for the name better.
I forgot how it happened in the show.
Well, in the show, it was his dad. And it's during the scene where they're tossing the baseball around the world.
Oh, yeah.
Which is actually a scene that I think comes into the next volume, so it does actually appear. But like they're tossing the baseball around the world to each other and they're talking, and he basically tells them like, well, most teenage kids act like they're invincible. Difference is you actually are.
Yeah.
And the reason I prefer this way is I feel like that way is very... It makes sense in the way that they set up his dad, but it's very selfish. Like, it's very much a case of like that. It's like, oh, these other kids think they're invincible, but you actually are invincible. And that spurs the name on. Whereas with this one, it's a case of like, you know what I mean? That bully was almost twice your size. Like, it's not your responsibility to protect other kids.
Yeah.
You're not invincible. And it's like, actually, no, I am invincible, and so it is my responsibility to step in for those that can't. It feels very more, again, kind of like the Peter Parker vibes, the great power comes great responsibility vibes, of actually, I do have the ability to step in for these kids who can't step up for themselves.
Yeah.
I do have the ability to do that, so I also have the responsibility to do that. So I very much like it in that sense. Like, I like the idea of his dad talking to him and setting it up, but I prefer the way it's set up with the principal.
Yeah, it was good.
Then the issue ends. We see like a bank robbery taking place, and as they try to escape, we get the first appearance of him, you know, post name in his new costume. You know, basically has the bank robber's car above his head, and they're saying, "I will blow you away." And he's like, "I wouldn't try that if I were you. I'm invincible."
I'm invincible.
And I'm like, okay, that's a really cool first issue, a really gentle start, a really introduction to it.
Pulled me in immediately. Yeah, it definitely pulled me in immediately.
All right, you want to take us through chapter 2 of it then?
Sure. Yeah. So chapter 2, basically kind of begins with kind of like a flashback. So it's Omnivan having the talk with Mark as a little kid. So you cut back to Viltrium, the planet, and he's talking about from his perspective, which I think we learn later on in the show that he's not really telling the whole truth. But they basically the planet Viltrium is all people of Omni-Man's stature, like they all have superpowers, and they want to basically take their technology to other planets, to other universes. So they set up this council, and they start sending all these emissaries to other planets to kind of help them with their technology, help evolve their technology. So it goes through a lot of visuals of that happening. And then we get to Earth, and basically the people of Viltrium are Viltrium? Is it Viltrium, right? The Viltrumites. Viltrum.
Viltrum, I think it is, yeah.
Viltrum, okay. They're like, yeah, we're not going to waste our time on Earth because they're not as advanced as other places that we're helping. And then he basically says that he steps up to be Earth's guardian, basically. So then it cuts down to him, you know, saving the day. There are montages of him punching monsters and punching dragons and stuff like that. And then it intercuts back to him talking to Mark, and he's basically like, you know, I'm the protector of the Earth, and one day you're gonna get powers. You're gonna get superpowers. And then it cuts back to Mark kind of using the powers. Like, again, we're talking about the visuals here. Just these 2 pages, the splash pages of blue. It's so cool. So then it cuts to this guy, an introduction of the teen team. The actual, I think, a legit, even though they were kind of teased in the previous issue, there's an introduction of like the full team here. But we get a foil of a robbery from a electronics store from these guys. If you remember these guys from the show, they're like the clones from the show.
Yeah, the twin clones.
Yeah, and they're trying to steal these electronic components from these video game machines, which we don't know why they're trying to do that. But it's revealed later in the issue that they're trying to build like an army of robots. Let's see. It's cut in with intersects with some more stuff of Adam Eve, and Mark kind of. So there's this whole thing in issue 2 and issue 3 where it's kind of building this sexual or romantic tension between Adam, Eve, and Mark. And one of the things, this is where I was talking about, I didn't connect with 100% of the writing. One of the parts in this issue is they're in the classroom. I think it's in this issue. It's in another issue, but they're in the classroom and they're talking to each other while the teacher's talking, and then he calls them out, and basically calls them out in front of the class that, you know, they're boyfriend and girlfriend, and they should do that on their own time. And then all the kids start laughing at him, and I'm like, would that really happen in real life? Or people really make fun of people for dating like that? I don't know. It felt a little forced to me. Anyways, trying to think. So yeah, so it's the main plot of this episode this issue is those 2 clones trying to put the robot army together. and it's the introduction, the full introduction of the teen team. And then we get towards the end of the episode, or I keep calling it an episode. Towards the end of the issue, we get our first look at what these of the missing kids, of the explanation of the missing kids. So you see one of the missing kids show up on a bench. Sorry, I don't know if you can see this. Show up on a bench, and he wakes up, and he explodes, and then it's the end of the issue. So again, not a ton happens in this issue. I think for it's a lot of character development for both the teen team and Mark and Adam Eve as kind of like a friendship. It shows that continuing budding of that friendship.
Yeah, that definitely is a major focus of the issue. Is we're starting to get the whole tension between Mark and Eve, and they're building up. Like they obviously did that in the show as well, and it's one of those things you're looking at it like it's the will they, won't they? They're eventually going to get together thing, because of course they are. Yeah, it's the main character and the main female protagonist. Of course they're going to get together. But like I like the way that they set it up. They definitely spend a lot of time building the friendship of it as well. I feel like we get a lot more of that, because in the show we didn't really get to see as much of that because there was so much focus on him with Amber.
Oh, sorry. Here's the Red Sun reference. If you can see that.
Yeah, so it is. I don't even noticed him. Yeah, it does look a bit like Superboy there.
I know.
But yeah, it's like so we do start to get the friendship here, because like Amber, who does come into the comics eventually, she has a thing, but like we don't get it right away. I feel like so much of the show was wasted on that stuff between Mark and Amber, and I freaking hate Amber on the show.
Yeah, she's incredibly annoying.
It's like as the episodes go, she gets more annoying, and then the episode where like he reveals who he is to her. Like killed it dead for me of like caring at all about her. I'm like, why are you with her? Why are you even pushing this? It's like Eve is literally single at this point. Just go that way, Mark. But like with us, it's like there's a lot of great setup here with their friendship forming, a little bit the introduction of the teen team, who are obviously some of the main characters that will continue to kind of appear in this, especially like Robot and Rexplode especially.
Yeah, there's a lot of them in this issue.
And then, of course, like you said, we also get the twins, who, at first when the guy was robbing the place, I didn't get that.
Spot update. There is a new member of
Hey!
the Comic Clan, and they are
Lunar
burning
owns
glorious
Twitch. Thank you so
purpose.
much for that follow. We
Welcome.
appreciate it. Welcome to the Comic Clan. Thank you for joining us for today. But yeah, when the guy was doing the robbery, it was like only one of them that was there, so I didn't click right away reading it that was the twins from the show.
Yeah.
Because obviously in the show, like the twin clones, like are the like first thing we see.
Yeah. And they're a pretty big part of the show.
And they're pretty big. And again, though, I feel like they're going to be in this. I feel like it's going to build up to, but we get like the idea of them building all the robots, and then they get foiled by the teen team who go to get them. But like it kind of just stops there after like Robot, Atom Eve, and Invincible take them out. And then Robot again offers, like, we get the offering of Mark Grayson to join the teen team as well.
Yeah.
Which, like, I feel like I'm glad we're getting the time to build with the teen team too. Because I feel like the teen team were kind of there, and then it was like, oh yeah, by the way, you're pretty much the Guardians of the Globe now.
So like, correct me if I'm wrong, but like in the show, it's called the teen team, but like they don't really come across as teenagers, and I don't think they are, right? Like they've outgrown the teen team moniker. Isn't that right in the show, or am I just?
They're kind of starting to like.
Okay.
I think like Eve obviously is at high school with Mark, so she's still a teen.
Yeah.
I think Rex and Kate are still at that age.
Okay.
Or at the very least, they're in their teens, or at least going into their early 20s. But it's very clear they've been the teen team for a while, because it's very much a play on the Teen Titans. As the teenagers and like the sidekicks almost to the main heroes.
Yeah.
Another Easter egg as well for y'all. I don't know if you spotted it. The name of the mall. Twin Pines Mall.
Oh, Back to the Future.
Yep, Back to the Future
Holy
reference.
crap! I totally missed that.
But another little Easter egg there, which I'm assuming it's a Back to the Future reference, because the Twin Pines malls are very on the nose if it's not. But yeah, Teen Team is an amazing mountain nerds. But yeah, I think that's why, like in the show, we just kind of transferred them to be in the like the next Guardians of the Globe. It's on Disney Plus from Sky High. Yeah. Sky's an interesting one. It's basically like a high school for teenagers with superpowers, so like it's interesting.
Okay.
But before like the whole superhero buzz, so like if they redone it now, it had the potential to be better. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
But it's still enjoyable. But yeah, so like as Nitro said, the issue ends with the kid blowing up at them all because it's the first kid that we find. They're getting loaded with bombs. So we start to find out like this is a serious thing as issue 3 opens up because we have the big meeting, the big assembly at school where they're talking about the missing kids. We get Mark being very kind of weird about it afterwards, like saying like it's like everyone's thinking I'm just going to say it. It's like whatever has happened couldn't have happened to a nicer bunch of guys, and it's like I get that like horrible people in school probably, but yeah, really.
Yeah.
And it's like I get the whole thing of like being in high school and having the horrible kids and stuff.
Someone has hacked your transmission.
Hey, thank you so much, Mountain Nerds. Thank you for the host. Appreciate it.
I think this is probably, I don't want to say this, this is probably one of my favorite issues. Because I like the character development between him and his dad.
Yeah, there's a lot of great stuff.
There's a really lot of focus on that in this issue.
Yeah, so the issue starts off with the character development again between him and Eve. We don't focus on it as much in this issue. It's just like it's clear that the friendship's still continuing. There's even a little hint of like her saying like about the guys who were being mean. It's like they're always nice to me, and he's like, well, yeah, you're a really attractive woman.
Yeah.
Of course they're being nice to you, and her kind of going, do you realize I'm with Rex, right? And it's like, yeah, what? And part of it like is of him being a bit embarrassed, and also part of him like he probably honestly didn't mean it like that. But like a kind of little hint of what's to come, that there's going to be a little something between them probably.
Dude, did you catch this? I just had to look this up because I'm like, this name has to mean something. So the name of the high school, Reginald Vell Johnson.
Yeah.
That's Carl Winslow from Family Matters. That's the dude who voices him in the show, I think.
Oh really?
Yeah.
Oh, I did not know that. That makes sense.
That's the dude's name because I think he voices I'm pretty sure he voices the principal in the. I could be wrong, or not the principal, but the the principal or the superintendent at the school.
Yeah. That's quite interesting actually. I didn't realize. I just took the name of the school. It's like it's probably a reference to something, but I never picked up on what. We then get the flip back to Burger Mart, which I was kind of shocked he was still working there because in the show it was like he got his powers and like bye.
Yeah, he was like peace.
But with this one, like he's still there, and I don't blame him for kind of quitting. The boss is like, you can tell like it's late night. You're doing your job, and it's like, yes, people are out there waiting for fries. So the customer's waiting, like, yeah, coming right up, sir. What else did you say in that moment?
Yeah, like what
It's like coming right up. It's like you realise how long they've been waiting. You know that waiting customers aren't happy customers, and I'm thinking in my head like I've had bosses like that, and it's like,
oh yeah,
do you want me to cook the fries quicker? Like how they're cooking, they're in the thing. Like I'm standing at the thing, like you can see the baskets in. Like I can't cook them quicker than I'm cooking them.
Can you give me some hotter oil?
Yeah. And then it's like, you guess, and maybe I'll not just pay you this weekend. It's like, you know what? I'm out.
Yep.
Literally throws his stuff down.
Yeah.
And I love how this plays out. Israel goes like that, oh, my dad's so going to kill me. And the two of them are doing dishes, and like his dad literally says to him, it's like that, oh yeah, by the way, now that you're going to be doing like superheroics like more often, like I don't think you need that job anymore.
I should
like,
probably quit. It's like, I can manage that.
I'll take care of that, Dad. Don't you worry. I've got that sorted. And
Side note. Here's the Wild Stallions, the Bill and Ted reference.
Oh yeah, the hat, the Wild Stallions.
Sorry, I'm gonna point them out. I thought it was cool.
Hold yours up again.
Huh?
Your dude's got a different color hat than me. And shirt.
Really?
Yeah. Look. He's got a grey Wild Stallions hat and a blue flannel.
That's so weird, dude. Why did they color it again?
That's weird. Hold your page up again. I'm curious now. I'm checking colors now to see if anything else is different.
Like you must have gotten a first edition or something like that.
Like literally every other color on the page is the same. That's so random.
That is very weird. Oh, I wasn't even holding it up in the right spot. You can't even see it. Oh yeah, you can.
Yeah, we can see it. We saw it.
Yeah, it's like Dad's gonna kill me. And he's like, you should probably quit your job. I can handle that.
Yeah, so I love how his dad's in the one that comes to him, and it's like, he's like, yeah, I'm just getting ready to go out on patrol, and he says, "Man, if I tag along, it's about time we're due for a team up." And it's like, I love the way that his dad says it. It's not very, yeah, apparently just me. Apparently, it's Spot the Difference edition of Invincible. It's like, but I love that his dad's not like okay, you're gonna come out and patrol with me, and you're gonna learn from me. He's literally like, yeah, can I tag along?
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's like, he's like, I'll tag along with you. And I love this reoccurring gag as well, the two of them flying through the air, and the dad just like dips out every so often to take care of something.
Yeah. That's such a cool little page. I think that's right. That's in the show too. That part.
Yeah, it's like that. It's like, like, hey, you're not doing too bad, especially for being as new to it as you are. And he's like, thanks, Dad. I love it. Sorry, there, chemical fire for the University Science Lab. Anyway, and he just goes back to the conversation, and then again, the next page it happens again. It's like he flies back. It's like, I don't thank me, son. I just said keep up the good work. Look out, Dad. The dam's about to. And he flies. And he gets back. He's like, show off.
Yeah.
And then they go grab some lunch, and his dad goes to take care of something, like, okay, you need to help me, and we get the alien invasion.
Mm-hmm.
The guys that we see from early on in the show that the team help out with and stuff, and the Omni-Man like basically destroys their home world.
Yeah.
But in the comic, it's literally just Omni-Man and Invincible fighting.
Mm-hmm.
And like I said, the dialogue is very Superman-esque from him. It's like, it's very much encouraging. It's very much like, we can push them back. We're outnumbered here, but we got them. And we start to see the aging thing happening like it does in the show. It's very much same. And the dad's like, okay, we can push them back. And then, because it's weird, it almost like snaps in an instant for him. And one of the pages is like, we're not defeated yet. And then he picks up one of their tanks, and you see him screaming. And then the next thing he yells is, get off my planet.
Yeah.
Which, knowing from where the show was with it, it's like, a get off my planet is like, I've claimed this one.
Yeah.
But it's like, it's the start of him starting to come through, and we see that face of him like glaring at them like he's about to go psycho.
Mm-hmm.
But Mark calms him down. It's like, it's okay, Dad, they're leaving, it's over. And he goes, you're right, let's go. And it tones down, and it's such a throwaway scene that you wouldn't know unless you knew what was coming next.
Yeah.
So yeah, the two of them fly off, and they're heading to the mall and stuff like that. They get a thing at the mall, and he tells them to keep up, and we see it's a really simple way to show the power level difference between the two of them.
Mm-hmm.
Is that we see Omni-Man like flying off and tells him to keep it up, and like he literally just disappears into the horizon. Like Mark is pushing his hardest. When they get there, they find one of the kids, who, again, like the last one, is asleep, has no idea what's going on, and tries to get as much information he can out of him, and then he has to just launch the kid into the air through the hole that's there from the previous explosion.
Like, I feel like there would be no other way where you could dispose of the bomb than do what he did, but I still feel like there's a glimpse into his deeper personality or his deeper character right there, where he just nonchalantly just throws a kid so he can blow up. I don't know. It felt
See,
like
that's the thing I was going to say with this scene. Is this panel right here beforehand? Like, he holds the kid up and he's like, "Who did this to you?" Like, I'm trying to get the information.
Yeah.
But then this panel,
Yeah.
that looks like compassion. Like, in his eyes, it doesn't look like dead.
Yeah.
It looks like his eyes are shaking. Like he's really sad. Like, he knows what's about to happen to the kid,
Mm-hmm.
and the kid has no clue what's even been done to him, let alone what's about to happen.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's like in that moment he realizes he has to, and throws him, because he has to get rid of him.
Yeah.
It's like he's at the verge of blowing up, and it's like,
Mm-hmm.
and it's one of those things of there was almost a moment of compassion there, and it's like, I'm intrigued to see how this plays out in the comic compared to the show, because I feel like the Omni-Man in the comic, at the very least, displays a lot more compassion and empathy.
Well, yeah, I feel like in
At
the
least
show,
he's a lot better at showing it.
I feel like in the show, it was like his life. It was legit just a facade, right? It was just a facade. until the very very last part of the episode where he's just beating the bejesus out of Mark, and he holds him up and he sees the flashback of him holding him up after he hit a home run, and there's like that one instance of, oh, he does have empathy, you know. But like you said, this book I think does a really good job of kind of building that in from the start as opposed to just dropping it in at the end.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Like it really builds in from the start. Like
I didn't even notice that panel until you pointed it out. That makes a lot of sense though.
like I kind of hate the fact that this was ruined, and even before the show came out, like I'd heard spoilers for Invincible and stuff, and his dad being the villain and stuff like that. I really wish I'd gotten the chance to read this before I knew that,
Yeah.
because I can only imagine that final page reveal in the issue where he kills the Guardians. Like it's not like the show where like he comes out of the shadows and you see him fighting them. Like, you know, he takes in that issue he takes out the Guardians from the shadows. You don't know who's doing it.
Yeah.
Until the last page reveal, and I can only imagine the last page reveal of that being Omni-Man
Like
was
a literal
such
gasp.
a shock for people.
Yeah.
Because if he's built up in this way, like you wouldn't have seen it coming. I don't think you could have. So we get the hint of like this is what's happening to the kids. Mark recognizes it as one of the missing kids from his school. The aliens return, open a portal right there, snag Omni-Man, drag him through. Which I love Mark's reaction to it. It's like, Dad! And then the portal disappears and he just goes, dang it.
Dang it.
So he flies home, tells Mom, and his mom's kind of like, oh well, more pork chops for us.
I love it. I love how nonchalant it is.
Oh, like, yeah, this is her life. She's just used to this. And that brings us to the final issue of the first volume of Invincible. You want to take us through chapter 4?
Yeah, so it starts off basically, Mark drops into the teen team's lair, and Robot has discovered what the clones have been doing. They've been trying to build a robot army. There's a little more character development for Rex and Adam Eve, where it shows them like dating and kissing and all that stuff. A little more character development for Adam Eve and Mark as well in school. And we get the reveal for the missing kids and the exploding kids as far as like what's happening. And there's this really cool part where like the teacher, where they're in class. This is the part that I didn't really like, where they kind of call them out like for dating. I'm like, really? Will people really laugh at people?
Hey.
They got called out. I know, like
you got called out in class, and I'm like, they're like 17.
I know. What
18.
are we 5? What are we 5 years old? Like dating is pretty normal at this time. Anyways, that's the only really issue I had. But so he really creepily calls them out, like calls them out in class for talking and stuff like that. And somehow I forgot how they figured it out. Oh, Robot helped them discover. So based off one of the kids exploding, he examined some of the residue from the explosions, and he was talking about how it would take someone with incredibly specific skills in order to create a bomb like this. And they narrowed it down to this teacher, because this teacher used to be like I forgot what they said. Not an astrophysicist is not the word, but he used to be like basically kind of like a rocket scientist. So they narrowed it down to, oh, it's our teacher. Our teacher is basically kidnapping these kids and blowing them up. So they find that out, and they actually go to his house. And he's like, I knew you were coming. And he basically goes, let me just take you to the kids. There's no sense in fighting you, because there's no way I'm gonna be able to fight you. So he takes them to this back room at his house, and he shows them one of the kids, Derek, who's strapped to the table with a bomb on him. And then he has this huge monologue where he's talking about his son committed suicide because of bullying, and then he lost his job, and then he lost his marriage. And he's basically taking revenge on the fact that his life was basically ruined because of kids like these. And all these kids that are being kidnapped and having bombs strapped to them are all like the bullies of the school, right? So he slowly opens his shirt, which reveals that he has a bomb attached to his chest. So he's basically going to try to blow up them too. And this is a callback to the opening of the comic. So the opening of the comic, the first page, you see Mark with a dude with a bomb strapped to his chest. And that's that guy. So it's the same dude. He basically flies him to the Antarctic. in like half a second, and he explodes. And then it cuts back to them at Mark's house. He comes home and he goes, is Dad home? Is Dad back yet? And his mom goes, no, just go upstairs, get cleaned up, and then we're gonna eat. And then it's like a panel of her cleaning up. The next panel, Omni-Man is in the scene, and he's like, I need a shave. And then the next panel is her cleaning up again. Like she doesn't even pay attention to it. But then it shows like a scene, a close up of her face, and there's a tear falling. So, but yeah, so he basically talks about what happened. So like Mark tells him about the teacher who blew up the kids and why he was doing it and stuff like that, and they figured it out. And then Omni-Man, he was like, I spent the last 8 months enslaved by an army from an alternate dimension. Although it seemed like much less time had passed here, about a week ago, I led a revolt against my captors and regained control of my powers. Today, a team of scientists from the rebellion found a way to get me home. And then the mom goes, "That's nice. Who's ready for dessert?" And that's the end of the issue. So it was really cool. But knowing what happened on that alien planet, I'm super pumped for the next volume.
Oh, I'm waiting for the reveal of like what volume shows that, of like what actually happened on that planet.
Because that's when it proper shows how powerful Omni-Man is and how much of a psycho he is, I think. Other than obviously when he murders the Guardians of the Globe, but like this, I think it properly shows the depth. When he basically slaughters the entire planet.
Yeah, like he goes to that planet and literally commits genocide. Like wipes their whole planet out. I'm like, that was the moment when it's like, crap, what do you actually do against this dude? And then knowing as well coming forward that like Omni-Man is like a pushover compared to some of the guys that are coming after him.
No, and that's crazy to me. Like
he's not even close to the toughest of the Viltrumites that Mark ends up facing, and I'm like, wow, that's nuts. And I'm like, he must come back somehow and help Mark. He must be involved in it somehow.
Yeah.
Because like I don't see how Mark could do it himself. But I'm really intrigued for both the show and the comic going forward.
Yes.
I thoroughly enjoyed this volume. It was such an enjoyable read to get through. It's heralded as probably the greatest superhero story that's not from Marvel or DC. Like from the indie world, taking a shot at superheroes. And probably better than a lot of stuff that comes out of Marvel and DC, to be completely honest. It's heralded as that, and I think it deserves it thoroughly.
Yeah.
Just the way it tells a story, the way it handles it, the fact of like, there is a beginning, middle, and end to it, even if it is 32 volumes. It's like you get in for the long haul with this story, and that's okay. That's part and parcel of it.
Yeah, it's really good. It's probably one of. I really liked Lock and Key. Because it was so different than anything I'd read. But I feel like this is one of my favorites that we've read.
Mm-hmm.
It's just such a cool story, and like you said, it's a really easy read. Like it's a very enjoyable read.
Yeah, it's an enjoyable read. I don't think Volume 1 would, if you take it as itself, I don't think it stacks up in comparison to some of the others that we've read.
Mm-hmm.
Like I think in terms of single volumes, I think Lock and Key, Spencer and Locke, Claws even, are all stronger single volumes.
But knowing what comes up though.
But I think by the time we get to the end of the series, I think in terms of telling a coherent, connected story, I think it's got a potential to be one of the best ones. It's got the potential to do that.
I can't believe it's 31 volumes. That's just nuts.
Yeah, and like that's it though. Like there's so much stuff kind of happens, and like even stuff like that, like the Viltrumite War, I think is like a good 3-4 volumes of just all on warfare, and there's a lot. And thinking about like the fact of like, but think how much little stuff happens in those. Like if you take like the first 3 volumes and say that's like season 1 of the show. Think how much stuff has been cut out to condense it for the show, but actually it's just breathing room. So if a lot of that stuff's breathing room, like getting through those 31 volumes is actually not going to be that difficult a task. It's actually going to be fairly easy to flow through them.
Yeah, I mean, I read the whole thing in like 40 minutes, not even 40 minutes.
Yeah, it's a really easy read.
Yeah.
Like, I'd read like an issue a night, like the last few nights just to kind of get ready for this because I work in the evening. So like I just wrapped up my evening just reading an issue, and I got through it like that.
Yeah, it was super.
Just
easy.
flew through an issue, and I'm like, okay, that was it. and definitely one of the easier reads but enjoyable reads that we've done. It's definitely worth picking up if you're interested in Invincible. I highly recommend checking it out for yourself. The link that we've got is Volume 1 is itself that we've done, because I put the ones we actually read for our comic book club into our list. So if you want to go and grab it for yourself, you can grab that. But if you want to get the whole stuff that's covered in the first show, I would highly recommend picking up the first compendium of it. Obviously, it's a lot more expensive because you're getting the multiple volumes in it. But I think those volumes all contain everything that took place in season 1 of the show. And if you've not checked out the show itself either for this, I would highly recommend it. It definitely tells a story in a different way, in a differently ordered way, but at the same time, I don't think that's a bad thing. I think it flips it round for TV very well.
Yeah.
You know, it's one of those things of like that you have to translate what happens in a comic to fit TV or movie format, and people don't always do that successfully, and I think Invincible does. So I would highly recommend that if you've not seen that, to check that out as well. But yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed this. Like this is by no means our most in-depth indie comic book club.
No, and I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that, you know, we've kind of already reviewed this, right? Because we reviewed the show. I mean,
we reviewed the show, so we're kind of reviewing it against the show. That's one of the reasons I wanted to talk about it, was because the show's out now. Everyone's a lot more familiar with Invincible and who he is and what the premise is of the show. So I'm like, well, what does the comic actually look like? Because going back to the comic is like can be a completely different experience. Like, for example, I talked about that a lot when we did Lock and Key. If you watch the Lock and Key show on Netflix, it's an enjoyable show. It's well worth checking out.
It's very different from the book, though.
But I don't think it holds a candle to the comic.
No.
Not even close.
No.
You know?
I don't honestly even know if I finished it. Because I'd read the comic before, and I was like, man, I'm just not digging this.
The show's definitely not as good as that. Like I enjoyed it for what it was, and I think I'm definitely be checking season 2 when it drops to see what it happens. But like I recently picked up volume 2 of Lock and Key.
Yeah, so did I.
And let me put it this way, I'm a lot more excited for reading volume 2 of Lock and Key than I am for seeing season 2. Because I'm like, okay, I want to see what happens next now, because it's been set up in such a good place. And I think that's the mark of it, and it's the same with Invincible. I think that's the mark of a great comic, is it makes you want to pick up what's next.
Yeah.
You know, and honestly, that's one of the lures of why I love indie comics so much now, and why I've really started getting into indie comics, because there's just not that lure to pick up the next thing for Marvel and DC. Like, there's specific stories that sound interesting.
Yeah.
You know, like the one that's happening now in Marvel from Tom Taylor, Dark Ages, and I'm like, it's a Tom Taylor book, I'm sure he'll do something awesome with it. Yeah. Or that fantasy, like, you know, Knights and Swords thing that he's doing awesome at DC. I'm like, that looks cool, but like, I can't legitimately say, like, oh, I'm excited to see what happens next with such and such. Like, sticking with him, like, I'm excited to see what happens with Nightwing, because he's one of my favourite characters.
Yeah.
But that's because he's writing the book. If the next writer's not doing something interesting, I'm in no rush to get it. Like, Marvel and DC are more a case of like, oh, that sounds like an intriguing story on that character, I'll pick it up.
Yeah, I like that character, and it's a different spin on the character. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll pick it up, and it's like, but there's also volumes where it's like, oh, that's horrible. Nope, not touching that. Yeah. But I feel like with indie comics, it's so much different. Because like for a lot of them, you get a beginning, a middle, and an end. You get a, you know what I mean, like stuff like Invincible, I can imagine Robert Kirkman had an idea of where he was going with it, or at least what he wanted to accomplish with it. Because a lot of the same beats hit. The fact that the Viltrumites are very much the like reoccurring villains.
Yeah.
For a lot of it, and it kind of goes that journey. Like, he must have had some beats set out for that, and he must have had an idea of where he wanted to end it. You know, even with his book The Walking Dead, he always said that, like, the book kept going on, and it's like he always said, like, I know what the ending is.
Yeah.
I know where it is going to end. I don't know how long it's going to take us to get there. I'll keep going as long as they want me to. But when it's time to end it, I know what the ending is.
Yeah.
And he did. He end the book, you know, and ended it on his terms. And ended it in a lot different way than a lot of people thought. And it's like, but I think that's the great thing about indie comics is you're opened up to these amazing worlds that if you only read Marvel and DC, you are missing out on some amazing stories.
Agreed.
People go like that, well, I'm not a big comic reader, and I'm like, I just don't think you found the right comic. I think there's a genre out there, and there's this type of story out there for everyone.
Agreed.
And a lot of them tell amazing stories, like, you know, it's like, and it's really intriguing. Like, when I go to pick up second volumes of stuff, like, I'm intrigued, like, I'm excited picking up volume 2 of Invincible, picking up volume 2 of Lock and Key, picking up what was the other one I got? Volume 3 of Umbrella Academy. You know, it's like another one that we're going to be doing on the show probably next year. It's like, yeah, I'm excited for it. I'm excited to continue these stories. I'm excited to see what we do with them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, there's so much more than just the big two or the big three even, and like, because I never read indie comics until I met you.
Yeah.
To be honest, but like some of the stuff that I've read is just it's so cool that there's other stuff outside of the big two.
Yeah, and
that is really, really good and compelling.
Because I'll be honest, I've gotten so bored of Marvel and DC, like the reoccurring like monthly stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'll go back and I'll read stuff, but my shelves are full of Marvel and DC. Don't get me wrong, I love superheroes.
Yeah.
And there's amazing stuff. Like, I've got wish lists on Amazon filled with so many volumes of stuff that I want to pick up.
Yeah,
that
same.
I'm like, that are great, like Marvel and DC stories that I want to get. But I have no urge to go out there on a weekly basis and pick up Marvel and DC comics, because I'm like,
no.
You know what I mean? I'm not going to go and pick up Spider-Man just because it's Spider-Man, or Batman just because it's Batman. I'm like, no, I want to see if I enjoy the run, if it's good, and if it's worthwhile. And I'm intrigued to try new stuff. Like, even Ad's saying it in there. Ad's talking about the comic Moon he mentioned in our Discord. I completely forgot to mention it to me until like this week, and I thought about it, and I went and found it online, and it's like, it's a British comic, but like it's bizarre as crap story. It's like literally this. It looks like a secret agent whose head is the moon.
That's hilarious.
But then you get the story of like in 12 AD the moon was cursed, and like, where does the moon go every, you know, when it goes, you know, away in the morning? It's like, oh well, actually he becomes a secret agent in Britain and is doing all this stuff, and it's like, what? Like, I love comics. Because in the world of comics, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Nowhere else. But in the world of comics, yeah, why not?
Sure, let's do it.
That's what I love, is like, it doesn't need to make sense, and I'm like, and there's so many great comics out there, and it's like, so don't get me wrong, I'm not crapping on Marvel and DC, and it's like, they're always going to be the kings of comics. But I honestly believe if that's what the only stuff you're reading, if you're a comics fan, you're missing out.
Yeah.
You're missing out on some amazing stuff out there. You know, that's why we talk to some of the amazing creators we do. Is to talk about these amazing comics out there. That's why, you know, I felt like doing this comic book club was a great idea. Let's do an indie comic book club.
Yeah, opening up the world. Let's
pick up stuff that we've not, like Lock and Key is a highly acclaimed comic, Chew's a highly acclaimed comic, Invincible's a highly acclaimed comic, Klaus is highly acclaimed for what it is. You know, it's like, they're all talked about in such a great degree. And it's like, well, let's check them out. And some of them are going to be great. You know, some of them we're going to absolutely love, some of them not so much. Yeah. Like, we weren't massive fans of Chew. It was a decent story. I'm probably still going to pick up volume 2 at some point and continue it just to see where it goes. But like, I'm not rushing to get it. But at the same time, like, it's a highly acclaimed comic. A lot of people have said a lot of great stuff about it, and I'm like, I want to see what the fuss is about.
Yeah.
And if I disagree and I'm not a fan of it, then that's okay. You're allowed to not be a fan of it. If you pick up Invincible and hate it, that's perfectly fine. You're allowed to.
And that's the thing. There's something for everyone. Like, what you don't like, somebody else is gonna love.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And that's why comics are so awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, that's why I love doing the indie comic book club and delving into these worlds. As I said, let me grab the other one just so we can plug it a little. Let's grab the one for October. So again, for our indie comic book club, this is a Will Eisner nominee for 2020 Best New Series called Something Is Killing the Children, from James Tynion IV, Werther Dell'Ediram, I'm probably totally mispronouncing that name, and Michael Muerto. Some really cool style artwork in this. Like, it's It's not too dark, not too creepy, but there's elements of creepy kind of art in it. Obviously it's going to be Halloween, so it's going to be our, even just some of the penciling and stuff is a little bit creepier in it. As we delve into that, I was telling Nitro about some of the stuff we're looking at for horror comics for future Halloweens. And this is a nice, here you go, little peeky at some monstery stuff. There's
Nice.
some great horror comics out there,
awesome.
but this one is highly acclaimed. This is coming through Boom Studios, which has been making a lot of waves in the comic book industry recently. So we will be talking about this in October. So next month we will be delving into this. It's meant to be a bigger gap between Invincible and that, but unfortunately, Invincible got pushed back to September. So
it's all good. So yeah, I'm looking forward to this. Something's Killing the Children. It looks really cool. I'm looking at the art right now.
So guys, if you want to pick that up for yourself as well as picking up Invincible, go ahead and click on that Amazon link. That'll take you to our wish list where we keep all the comics that we do in our indie comic book club. And you can pick them up for yourself and check them out. Check out the previous ones we've talked about, and you can catch episodes on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts to find our indie comic book club discussions on there. Next week, we were going to be talking about Shang-Chi, but someone decided to have a social life.
My bad.
so we're not going to be doing that. How dare you be a sociable person? We're comic book geeks. Right? We're not allowed to do that.
No, we're not allowed to have family or friends.
Nope. So 2 weeks time we will be doing our Shang-Chi review, which hopefully by that point, if you've seen it, you've seen it. So going into spoilers definitely shouldn't be an issue in 2 weeks time.
Yes.
So next week I am at a toss-up. I'm going to be talking to some people to see if I can get some guests on. So I'm kind of in a toss-up between possibly reviewing the first half of Marvel's What If, just so we can split it up, because it's going to be 9 episodes long, I believe, and I don't think we're going to fit 9 episodes in a 2-hour show.
Yeah.
Somebody's getting mocked for that. Somebody decided to have a social life. So I might see if we can get some guests on to talk about that. Especially after some of the episodes we've had done, I think they definitely are worth discussing in depth.
Especially after that last one.
Yeah. If I'm not able to do that, then chances are I'll just do a gaming stream. And chances are it's just going to be, I'm honestly probably just going to do a little bit of Kingdom Hearts and just jump into that rather than doing like Apex or Sea of Thieves or something like that.
Well, thankfully you're past Ursula, so
yeah, I got past that.
Breaking your controller in half.
Yeah, I was fighting Captain Hook when I finished last time, so speaking of doing Kingdom Hearts and fighting Captain Hook, that'll be tomorrow night. I will be back 8:30 tomorrow evening Eastern time. So come and join me as I continue through Kingdom Hearts, which has been a lot of fun. Been enjoying the game. I will say this: I kind of broke my wife's heart last week because I'm not enjoying it in the way that a lot of people have been like, "You're gonna love this. It's amazing."
Yeah.
I do think there's definitely an element of nostalgia for a lot of people that told me to check it out.
Yeah.
Who grew up with the game that I obviously don't have. It's my first playthrough. Not that it's a bad game, not that I'm not enjoying it, but I'm not blown away with it.
Mm-hmm.
Bearing in mind this is like what, a PlayStation 2 era game.
Yeah.
So compared to some of the stuff I've played, it's not gonna totally blow me away in that sense. But it's been enjoyable, and I'm looking forward to completing it, and I'm looking forward to seeing what they do with the sequels and stuff like that.
I definitely think that plays a part into it, the nostalgia. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's the thing. That's perfectly okay. That's not necessarily a bad thing. Like, I've got nostalgia playing games. Like, there's nostalgia watching certain TV shows or movies that I know are bad.
Yeah.
I know that there's elements to them, but I'm still a fan of them because of that nostalgia.
Firefly. What?
And we're ending the call with Nitro there. Bearing in mind as well, Nitro has no taste, so...
apparently.
I played a little bit of DC Universe Online not a lot. Like, I tried playing it a little bit, but I never fully got into it. I just don't have the time to delve into it a lot. And I don't want... And the thing with an open world, universe game online like that is that you got the potential, that's going to become your game then. That's what you do on stream if you do it on stream. And with only, one dedicated gaming day for myself, I don't want that to be the game I dedicate to. I want to explore other stuff. But I might start doing it if I get another gaming night eventually. But yeah, following up from Kingdom Hearts, then again on Tuesday night at 8:30, I believe, as far as I know, the plan's still on for that.
Yeah, I'll be here working on Nick's piece from Co-op Trio. Hopefully, we'll start doing some legit coloring on it. So, well, I don't know if we're gonna finish it, but we'll get close. Hopefully.
I say hopefully you'll get close because you got a fair bit done last week.
Yeah, we got a lot of it done last week.
So that'll be cool to see if that gets done. But Nitro again has been knocking it out of the park with that. So please, by all means, go ahead and check that out. Again, if you want to financially support the channel in any way, the podcast, the gaming, the art, whatever, please go and check out our Coffee link. As I said, we're going to be some exclusive content appearing up over there, hopefully in the next couple of weeks, as well as this week, hopefully getting some art commission stuff available for purchase for Nitro. So if you do want to get some art stuff done, definitely check that link out for it there.
Yep.
But yeah, I think that's pretty much everything at this point.
Sweet, man. This was awesome.
Yeah, anything else I've missed? Anything you can think of?
Maybe it just I don't know if you already called us out, but just our Discord.
Go for it.
So if you like hanging out with us and you like the types of stuff that we talk about all different types of additional stuff on our Discord. It's a very active Discord, and we're on there every day. So if you want to come by and hang out, and after our streams, by all means, come and check us out on our Discord.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we try to stay pretty active on there. You can also catch us on our social media and stuff as well, but usually in the Discord where you'll get some of the good conversations taking place. Let's see who is online, so we can go drop a little raid. See if the right dictator's still on once this ad runs, and we'll maybe go out and drop a raid on her. We don't get a chance to raid her often. But yeah, I think that's pretty much everything from us, so look forward to seeing you tomorrow night and Tuesday night. Hope you come back and join us. And then next Sunday, I'll definitely be here. I don't know exactly what I'll be doing yet, so keep up to date with us on our Discord and on our social media. Let me post those links as well. And all of you have an absolutely amazing Sunday. Thank you for everyone that came and joined us today. I hope you all had a great time, and we will see you all soon. And remember, it's a good week to be a geek.
Adios.
Sierra Miedo.